Hi. This is going to be a reading for the weekend, February, God, what is it? The 24th, 25th, and 26th, or whenever you come across this reading. I thought I would just, just do something simple and just use maybe one or two different decks and, just kind of see what happens. It is Thursday night. What I really wanted to do tonight was go out. I've been wanting to just kind of let loose and go out and, I don't go out that often, so I've been really craving just, going out for drinks. But for those that don't know me, I moved back to Chicago from New York like about a year ago, and, I thought I kind of had friends coming, here. Turns out not so much. So I don't really do that much outside of work and, my own sorts of like creativity. So I don't know, I guess I was going to say I don't really go out that often. And because of that, I'm not one of those people that likes to drink by themselves. So I figured, I would have a little party here with you. Maybe that's sad, but what I think is more sad is the fact that like I've had such shitty friends that aren't worth spending time with, I guess. And so happy weekend. This is my little vodka and Diet Coke. That way just have fun. Maybe play some music. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah. So I guess maybe I'll just like start with telling you a little bit about myself, because you probably don't know, much about me. And for those that are watching tarot readings on YouTube, I feel like you should kind of know who you're getting information from. They're just like go on any YouTube channel and take what they say to heart. You don't know who these people are. So I figured I would tell you a little bit about myself. And tell you about how I came to be doing tarot readings. And if you haven't been watching the other videos, I've probably explained things like a little bit spread out different videos, but I guess maybe to sum it up and to just kind of have a conversation, I thought I'd let the cards sort of guide the conversation, but I'll intersperse my own stories throughout. For those that don't care about my stories, that's fine. You don't have to be here. But I don't know. For me at least, it's helpful to tell stories of my own that hopefully you can either relate to or sort of take out of context and apply to your life and parable things out. It's my neighbor, just got back. I try to, I'm getting a studio, so I can do these readings during the day and not have to do these at night and be quiet and not like wake up my neighbors. But until then, this is what you get. So take it or leave it. I've gone on YouTube and looked at videos, and I think, people that do readings and especially the good tarot card readers are, I think they're always trying to help, and they take time out of their schedule, and, I think they're coming from a good place, and, because honestly, these readings, they take a little bit of time. Oops, just dropped these. This is the Star, the Moon, and Three of Swords. Sometimes, even though this says sorrow, and usually the connotation with this card is not so great, it's like heartbreak, or, like three people, heartbreak, basically, but just the way that this card looks, you can see the three swords going to the center. I kind of think of it as like getting to the point of things. So I'll try to do that, but these are spontaneous readings pretty much, and you're kind of going with the moment, so you're kind of like having to think on your feet, and sometimes messages come through that are spontaneous and good because of that. Other times you kind of start to stumble on your words and things like that, so be patient and understanding. I was saying, when I go on YouTube and see people that are giving up their time and trying to be helpful, trying to give good advice, then I see people do the dislike button, and I'm like, who are these people? Like, what are you doing? It doesn't really make sense to me. Like, do you really have to go out of your way to make sure people know that you don't, and even though it's anonymous, you don't like that video? If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all, kind of thing. Unless you're coming from a place of truth and you actually have an opinion, you're not just I don't like that, and dislike, who are you? Honestly, these videos take a while to do, probably about 2 to 3 hours total when you consider the time that it takes to get ready and set up, and then even just the recording of the videos, and then the uploading and the writing out of the different notes and the different songs, and you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart, so don't be a fucking asshole, basically, is what I want to say to people like that. I just kind of picture some lonely dude in a room by himself, looking for help, and then someone they come across a video that is helpful, that is basically saying take responsibility for your life, and they're like, ugh, I don't like that. That's kind of how I feel about it. Unless it's a I don't know, a news story or something like that actually asks for your opinion, and for your contribution and that kind of thing. Who seriously, you don't like a video, then just kind of walk away. You don't have to be there. You don't have to watch it. You don't have to go into someone else's space and make sure that they know that you don't like it. Who are you? Seriously though, what are you doing with your life? How are you helping? That's kind of what I want to say to people like that. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. The Star and the Moon, it's about your future, and it's about the path, I want to say the road less taken, or the road not taken, about taking initiative, going down a path, going down a road that hasn't really been forged in the past, and making your own way. And I think that's admirable, regardless of where you end up, because it means that you took a risk and you have the courage to do something different, other than what people necessarily expect or even accept. I mean, freedom of speech, come on. But I will try to be nice. I am, and I'm pretty understanding, and I try to see things from multiple perspectives, and so that means that when I do come to a conclusion, I have looked at everything from, as many perspectives as I can even think of, and weighed the options. I mean, I have so much energy in Libra that I'm always trying to strike a balance and always trying to see things from both ends of the spectrum, and find that happy medium where everyone's happy, but some people you just can't please. And so if you're one of them and you don't like what I'm saying so far, you're welcome to leave. Don't need you here. And if you are here, then welcome. So anyways, yeah, like I was saying, I thought I'd say a little bit about myself so you know who and through, messages are coming, and take them for what you will. Always use your own logic and good judgment, discernment, intuition. Apply messages how you will to your own life and your own context. Like I was saying, it's not about being self-involved or anything like that when you start to tell stories about yourself or give your own personal experience. It's to put messages in a context that is understandable and relatable. And hopefully, if you're not like a total copycat, then you then take those messages and apply them in your own life to your own experiences and make something new with that. Understand how it affects you, how those messages, those energies affect you, not just like, thesaurus out someone else's words. Like, these messages are meant to help you understand what energies are and how they relate in real life, and just kind of shine a light on things. Sometimes it's not always even that you don't know these things that I'm saying either. It's more about sometimes we just need reminders or to see things in a different light from someone else's perspective, to see what we're dealing with in a different context. So, and also I think it's important that we share our experiences. I don't think people do that enough. That is how we relate to each other, is through shared experiences, through sharing our thoughts, our what's going on in our own life and things that we've been through, so that we all remember that we're all human and we're all going through things. And it's the Prince of Discs, which to me always represents Virgo energy, or just because princes and they sometimes represent travel, or knights too. This deck has princes. Other decks just have knights, and they always represent mutable energy to me because they're traveling. And so mutable earth sign would be Virgo, but it could just be, earth energy, reality-based things, being grounded, travel. It can represent any of the earth signs, and you might have a lot of earth energy in your chart. If you haven't looked that up, I totally recommend that you do, so that these readings make a little bit more sense to you. And you can see how different energies apply in different areas of your life. Yeah, I have no real intention for this video besides just to get a few things off my chest and give you some clarity and help for the weekend, and take messages as you will, like I said, and see how they apply to you, and they may apply later. I find that often happens. Sometimes it's easy to write off things that someone says, but then something will happen. You're like, oh, that makes so much more sense now. Things in the future, don't always apply to yourself because it hasn't happened to you yet. So you kind of have to, work with timing and work with, different events that are coming into your life. Everyone's going through things at different pace, and these are general readings. So just try to keep an open mind and a broad context, and yeah, just try to see whatever it is, that, whatever endeavor or situation or feelings that you're experiencing right now or going through. Just try to see how different, words or messages, metaphors, any of that kind of parable it out. See how it applies to you. Don't always assume that just because I mentioned one thing and I'm applying it to myself, that is the only context that something can be, understood. Messages that come through are broad for a reason, so that they can apply to, a majority of people or a broad, division of people. So, yeah, just use your own logic and discernment. And like I was saying, my name is Caitlin, if you didn't know. And, ooh, Science, Six of Swords, moving forward, move on. In the bottom, the Wheel of Fortune, and this kind of represents, this is a major arcana, this represents, sometimes I think going with the flow, because, things are always changing, and this is the wheel that's either, it's either on the upswing or it's either on the downswing, but that kind of represents life. It's always turning, it's always moving. We're sometimes up, we're sometimes down, and it can represent good fortune, but it can also represent karma and, the reactions or I don't know what to say, the results of our actions. It's 10, so it's a 1. Reduces down to a 1. If you don't know about numerology, you should look into that as well. Because I often relate things to numbers. It just, for me, helps me to sort of, as guideposts, signs, signages when you're traveling, from one destination to another, from the point when the card pops out to the end message. Numbers, little signs and clues help you to get where you're going. So whether or not you believe in numerology or not, you're here, probably because you're interested in, tarot or any of these sorts of mysterious kinds of practices, I guess you'd say. And so, just keep an open mind all the time. It's like that quote, the only means of improving one's intellect is to make up one's mind about nothing and let the mind be a thoroughfare for all thoughts. Keats. But it's true. I mean, it's not to say that you can't ever form an opinion, but you should take in as many options and ways of looking at things as possible before you do go ahead and just make up your mind. Don't just be super judgmental and have one point of view and not have all the information or any information and just think you're right. I love people that just think they're right and have absolutely no real understanding or information and just basically just make up their mind about a situation or a person or, and they've never actually expanded or thought outside the box or thought, oh, what if I'm wrong? Most likely, and oftentimes we are wrong, so it takes looking at all perspectives, the entire, the entire cycle, all the different points of view. As much as we go from point A to point B, from thought to action, it's all that in-between area that we kind of swirl around and look at all the different points of view, or we should be, before, making up our minds about something. There's, infinite possibilities and infinite ways of looking at things, and we are all so complicated and so layered and so, and situations are the same way. So, we try to put ourselves in other people's shoes. We try to see things from different perspectives, and I think that's the only way we can ever actually advance as a society, as, in friendships and relationships, to try to, not be those kinds of people that are just like, oh, well, that doesn't, and just make up your mind about something that is probably wrong, without any information or, seeing someone else's point of view. I've had so many friends that are like that just are like fair weather friends and throw away like decade-long friendships because they didn't even bother to take the time to ask someone or me, why I did a certain thing, or, what actually happened, or, maybe there's more to the story, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm a little, I guess I'm just kind of over it. I'm over the people that are just, they think they're always right. Like, to them, I just want to say, oh, since you have all the answers, I have lots of questions. Like, can we talk? And please explain to me the mysteries of life and how things work and relationships and all of it, because clearly you know everything. So, yeah, let's talk. 7-Eleven is my new place. I find a lot there. So like I said, I lived in New York. I was there for about 7 years, and before that I was there for 4 years. I was in Texas for 4 years, so it's been a little over 11 years, almost 12 now, since I've lived in Chicago. It's different to come back, as an adult and try to, last time I was here in Chicago, I was in high school, so I don't, still get lost wherever I'm going. I didn't really go out that much in high school. I was pretty, focused on getting into colleges and studies and stuff like that. So now as an adult to come back, I'm a little bit lost of like where to go and what to do. I'm not one of those people that just like goes and hangs out at bars by myself. So even though I would love to be out right now and like having fun with friends like I had in New York, I'd rather not waste my time on idiots, basically, and like, waste time hanging out at a bar, drinking by myself. So we're here having a party instead. Or, we'll see what happens. But, and also, well, I guess I'll just keep going with that train of thought and try to stay on track. I'm a little ADD, but I also feel like that allows you to kind of go in different doors of perception and extract different memories and thoughts. And so I go on tangents, but usually they all kind of lead to one kind of end destination. You pull together messages, you pull together experiences, you pull together different meanings of cards and see how it all works together. I don't really subscribe to some of the traditional meanings of cards and tarot readings all the time. I know them all, but I've found that there's a lot of other meanings, and for those that are skeptical, I understand. I'm totally skeptical, and that's actually a trait of Sagittarius, is to be skeptical, to want to figure out what is actually the truth. And for me, I started to get into astrology. I've always found it sort of interesting, but I never really knew much beyond, sun sign and that kind of thing. And I looked at my birth chart and found, what moon and rising signs are, and then, it goes very deep, as we are very deep and layered, and there's different aspects and facets of our personality, and they're all represented in the birth chart. Whether or not you agree with that, it's still like a process of elimination. You're still like having to distinguish, and so within that learning experience, you still learn something about yourself, whether or not you agree with typical meanings of what signs and astrology and different aspects mean or say. It's going to be very, layered and multifaceted, because that's how we are, like I said. So that's how I started to get into tarot, because I was watching a lot of like astrology videos and, you know, having to do with the energies of that month, and then on autoplay, you know, tarot readings would come up, and I was raised pretty traditionally and like with a religious background, so I was always kind of taught that like tarot and anything of that nature was, you know, a cult and like scary, and not to like go into that. And I just figured, like, I don't know, I've always felt very protected and just not scared of things like that. I don't know, I always feel like you can learn about a subject and not even have to necessarily believe in it, but all of these different areas require you to learn before you make up your mind. And so if you are at all interested, then learn about something. You know, it's not that complicated. It's doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go to hell because you watch a tarot video, like, at all. It just means that you've probably been raised in a certain way to think that, and you've never questioned anything other than that. And so, or, you know, those beliefs, and that just means you're kind of small-minded and, you know, or closed-minded, and you should open up, you know, the box of perception and see what else is out there. If you actually are strong in your beliefs, then nothing can really, you know, alter that. So there's nothing to be scared of. And, you know, things have as much meaning as you give them. Tarot cards have as much meaning as you give them. And if you really are connected to God, Holy Spirit, angels, that kind of thing, of positive, loving, good nature, then that's what's going to come through. If you are also positive, loving, and of good nature, that's what's going to come through to you. You know, you get what you give, kind of thing, or yeah. So, you know, be skeptical, definitely. Always test the waters, always sort of, you know, have, you know, I don't know how to say, but that's kind of what I did. I started to watch like Sagittarius tarot card readings for that month, and then I compared and contrasted them to other tarot card readers to see if, you know, it occurred to me that, like, if this is actually real, then a lot of the same energies would come through regardless of the reader, and it was true. And eventually I was just like, since most of these videos on YouTube are general, eventually I was just like, why am I, like, you know, listening to someone else when it's not even directly necessarily applying to me? Like, why don't I just pick up a deck of cards and see what happens? And that's what I connect with God, source, positive energies, positive, loving spirit guides, those that watch over, angels, Holy Spirit, all of that. And it's, you know, they're like, we have free will, like I've said in a few other videos. So we have to ask for help, and this is one way to do it. For those like myself that are more visual, more creative, I come from a creative background in fashion, design, and art, and this helps me to, again, that's the Knight of Discs, this helps me to connect more easily with, you know, with the divine, with God, with, it gives, you know, a visual reference, a visual metaphor, a understanding of what, you know, I mean, unless you are, like, you know, hearing God's voice, it's sometimes hard, depending on the person, to, you know, listen, I guess, or to understand how, you know, when you pray and that kind of thing, how, you know, what's the answer kind of thing. And I found that with tarot cards, there's always, you know, an easy, not easy necessarily, but there are guideposts, there are answers, there's visual references, things that trigger our memory, like our memories, our thoughts, our emotions, and we can find answers in that. So for me, it's helpful. And like I said, you don't have to agree with it, but you're here watching it, so I hope that it applies or helps or lends some clarity or insight for you as well. And we are all sort of connected in a way. So my experiences, the stories that I tell, should on some level apply to you. Hopefully you can relate them to your situation, and the things that I pick up on, you should try to see how it applies to you. And yeah, I also say that if you, or recommend that if you have any questions, you can, reach out to me. I'll try to answer them as best I can, but I also don't pretend to be an expert. I just, work on my own personal experience and the things that I've documented, and my nose itches, and have translated. Sometimes the cards are very literal. Other times there's like tons and tons of symbolism and multitude of meanings. So take them for what you will. It's pretty much as simple as that. It's just like keeping an open mind, not being like super judgmental, not being closed off to think that your way is the only way, because that's definitely not true. If like it just isn't. I just really think that divine, God, Holy Spirit, it's all so much more intricate and beyond what we can even comprehend sometimes. That for people to think that their way is the only way and that they figured it all out, and in their 20 something years that they've lived or something, like, okay, but then you don't need to be here, kind of thing, because I really don't want to interact with people like that. And that's what I've found a lot of since moving back from New York, unfortunately. I do have hope that I will meet people that are, cool and open-minded and, interested in learning regardless of the subject, and open, but I'll give an example. Is the first time I got back from New York, I, called my high school friends that I had kept in contact with throughout college and a little bit into when I lived in New York. And I mean, we all went on different paths. I expected that as much, but I I really thought I had a group of people to come back to, and it turned out that we got together, and not a single, maybe one person asked me what are you? So how are you? But not a single person really, was like, oh, so we know that you've been away for 11 years. Why are you back? What's been going on? How's your life? Anything like that. Just taking an interest in someone else. Not so much. I did, even though I, not even close with some of them, friends, husbands, and that kind of thing. But I took an interest. I asked, how are things going? And let's talk about you are in graphic design or something like that. Are you still, just taking an interest in someone else's interests, carrying on a normal conversation, being polite, and even doing that, it'd be they'd answer and they would just kind of and when they were done talking, just kind of look away. Instead of asking a close friend, about their life, and what they plan to do now that they're back, or anything like that. Instead, I sat there and listened to them talk about their small little lives and how they have chicken coops in their backyard and how funny that is, and absolutely, no substance, nothing, no interest in someone else's life, not even really within each other's lives, just kind of talking about surface things. And I'm just so over that. Let's talk about anything that matters. Let's, beyond chicken coops. It doesn't even have to be that. It can just be taking an interest in someone else's life. The only other time I saw these people I was close with too in high school and college. The only other time I saw these people was at a going away party for one of our friends, and as soon as I sat down, completely turned into this other girl's, like, um, other girl's show, basically. I hadn't even sat down before she was like, oh my god, I'm pregnant. And had she even taken an interest in my life, or, asked me about anything that's gone on in my life, she would have known that, like, I had had a miscarriage, and that was kind of like a sensitive subject. And not that I'm not happy for her, but, you know, it's just about being a little bit sensitive to other people's life. I mean, I really don't think that that's crazy to ask or think or expect. And then she went on to talk about how, living in the city now, that she was going to, she could never raise kids in the city, and they were definitely going to move. And I'm sitting there, like, listening, like, knowing she knows full well that I was raised in the city in Chicago. And just like, okay, well, strike two, that's a little bit insulting. But, to each their own, I guess. But on the same token, like, what's wrong with raising kids in the city, like, around culture and diversity and museums and art and, good schools and beautiful location and that kind of thing. No, definitely take your family back to the suburbs and have your small little life kind of thing. I hope when I do have kids, that's where you are, so that they don't have to intermix with your, sheltered, small-minded kids. Basically just keeping that cycle going, I guess, is what their goals are. We should always be open-minded and see where we can teach and help people understand different lifestyles, but at the same time, like, you can only do so much, and sometimes people are just flat out ignorant, and you don't need to, like, surround yourself with people like that. And so that's been my experience since moving back. I don't know. Knight of Cups. It's a water sign, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. It can be, since this is general reading, male or female. I think of Pisces, kind of. Because Pisces is, oh my gosh. Cards are just popping out everywhere. Oppression and the Magician. I'm not sure what, like, upside down or right side up these came out. This can either mean, like, end of a cycle, or, the swords coming out of your back. It's being in your head and, like, finally stepping out of your head. And this is the Magician. I'd recommend that you watch the, which video was it? The water sign video. Knight of Cups came out, so maybe watch the water sign elemental end of February video. I went into the Magician a lot in that video, but this is using all your resources, using things at your fingertips, using your mind, using your instrument, the mind being the instrument, yeah. So, and just basically bringing the ethers into reality, and, as above, so below. As you think, so shall it be. It's the power of your mind, and manifesting your own reality. What kind of world do you want? Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of very small-minded, people out there that tend to be the majority. And as a result of that, we kind of go with the majority and what the majority likes. And I think that kind of speaks to, oh my gosh, once again, this is all the elements also, and victory, which is a fire sign, or rods are representative of fire signs, so Sagittarius, Leo, and Aries. Jupiter and Leo. Maybe you are Leo, or have a lot of Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and it's just all about abundance and all about expansion and higher education, higher learning, which I think that we could all benefit from. Yeah, just not being small-minded, not being closed off, not being, not making up our minds about something until we know all the facts, not thinking that we know everything. Basically, this is usually meaning like there's people on board, people backing you up, people cheering you on. It's coming back home from something like, you're victorious. I don't know how that fits in really, but we'll see. We'll see what else comes up. I think it's also not being like a fair weather friend, whether that's in relationships, friendship, family, anything like that. Like I said earlier, I think, it's how we connect is through shared experiences, good or bad. It's the wheel is always turning. So we're either on an upswing, we're either on a downswing, and it's about sticking by people, sticking by friendships, relationships, all of it through the ups and downs, because even if you don't understand a situation that someone's going through, even if you don't understand all the things that they've been through or how they feel, you can always try your best to put yourself in their shoes, or even just be a friend and listen. You don't have to solve all their problems for them, but it's sticking by people through thick and thin, not just when things are good, and because eventually things will probably not be good for you, and you'll hope that you've had those people stick by you as well. I've had a lot of fair weather friends too. I think that tends to happen, especially in New York. I don't know, where you meet a lot of different people, a lot of different personalities, and different times, circumstances, and it's oftentimes good, fun times that you meet someone, but then something comes up and people don't like to really deal with other people's issues. But it's I don't think anyone's necessarily asking you to. It's more about just realizing that we all have ups and downs, and that eventually you will too, whether or not it's now or later. And what happens to me usually tends to happen to everyone else about 6 months later. So it pays to pay attention, basically, to what other people are going through other experiences, and learning through not only your own experiences, but others' experiences, and just not being a bitchy, fair weather friend that only sticks around as long as it's surface and happy. We connect through emotions. I would hope that people would recognize that and be there throughout, good or bad, because that's what makes us human. That our emotions are our experiences, things that we go through, they connect us, they bond us, if we share them, if we are open to letting other people in. And I think it comes down to that as well, opening up and talking about the things that you're going through, and not being afraid that it's going to scare people off, just because it's not necessarily comfortable, or maybe it's a little bit awkward or something like that. But just recognizing that we're all just human, we're all just learning, and we're all just, trying our best, basically. So unless someone is really being a downer in your life, and toxic in that way, which I don't think necessarily just because you're going through something doesn't mean you're a toxic influence or something like that at all. It just means that you're, on the downswing right now, and it's about going beyond the surface, not just having those sorts of friendships that are all surface level kind of thing, which I've experienced a lot of, and I'm really over it. If you can't stick by someone through thick and thin, then you don't really deserve that person's friendship, basically. And good luck to you when you go through that shit, because you will eventually. And hopefully, you've been a good friend and stuck by others, and they recognize that and will stick by you, that kind of thing. It's all about connection. It's all about, understanding, putting ourselves in other people's shoes, understanding that we're all human, understanding that we're all just trying our best. And that's what friendship is. That's what relationships are, to, to work our way through life, basically, to try to help and understand each other, to relate, to connect. And, those that only want to do that through, happy-go-lucky times, then, have fun having a, superficial, surface-level life, and I pray for you when you go through shit, because you're not going to have anyone there for you. I have had friends that have gone through things, and I stuck by them, but when I went through things, not so much, fair weather friends, basically. Anyways, let's see what the victory again. Good. Let's see. Oh my gosh, the cards are just going everywhere. I guess when you really speak your mind and have something to say that is of substance, Knight of Cups, again, then, things flow a little bit better. I wish I could play music. I don't know how to do that and record. Yeah, so I'm trying to quit smoking as well, but when I drink, I smoke, so just excuse that. Like I said, I studied fashion and art, so a lot of messages come through those memes, and I kind of have a concentration on creativity. I think it speaks to my 5th house in my birth chart, where I have more than a stellium of planets, and they're all even connected to other planets, so it's all concentrated in the 5th house, and everything kind of ends up relating to creativity. Can't really help it. No matter what I try to do to get away from the creative industry, it just pulls me back. I can't help it. It's also where my sun sits, where my Venus and Mercury and just a bunch of other planets, Saturn even. It all comes back to creativity. It all comes back to self-expression. So, like I said, take it or leave it. I'm going to relate a lot of things to myself because, well, that's what I know. I know myself, I know my experiences, and that's how I can parallel things out and make sense of messages and things like that. And you kind of have to do the same for yourself and see how you relate most things. So let's get one card for the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Highest and greatest good of all people. Queen of Swords. She's come up for about 2 readings. We also got the King of Swords for talking about the elemental end of February elemental readings. If you are interested, I'd suggest checking them out and also watching the elemental readings for your moon, your rising sign. They all correlate, they all kind of overlap and interact, I guess you'd say. So for further clarity, I would just watch them all. But also there are links and videos and movie trailers and just anything that are sort of visual metaphors for what I'm talking about. And you can click on those and see where they bring you. They might bring you to another video, or you might pay attention to the lyrics, to, the set design, the scenery, the time period, any of it. It might be clues, indications for you of, sparks to follow, little inspirations, visual candy, that kind of thing. just to bring further clarity and understanding to the messages and the cards that we talk about. So the Queen of Swords is all about speaking your mind, saying what you want to say, cutting through the bullshit. It's air energy. So Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini. Maybe you're one of those signs, or it applies to someone that you know in your life. It is a people card, so it can represent that kind of a lot of that energy filtering through you or a situation, or it can represent you. So see how that fits in. Sometimes I feel like this is very self-explanatory, and I just shouldn't go on forever. I don't want to waste your time, but some people that are watching these videos don't know anything about tarot or astrology, so I kind of try to strike that balance. Again, at Libra, I like strike that balance with explaining what the card meanings are, their base meanings, and maybe extrapolating a little bit on how they might apply in real life. So someone who is, cuts to the chase, defends their beliefs, defends others, is straightforward, direct. This is the Knight of Swords on the bottom. So these are a little bit unconventional readings, and I hope they bring clarity to you. If not just to get your, the wheels turning and see things from a different perspective, different person's perspective, or a different, archetypal situation perspective. I don't know. Maybe it's just about, saying what you want to say. I put that video link in one of the elemental videos for Sarah Bareilles, Brave. It's just about, being brave, saying what you want to say, getting to the point, which I'm not sure if I've done completely right now, but that's okay. Chariot and the Hierophant. And the High Priestess. These are all major arcana cards. Hierophant can represent, higher learning, priest kind of person, someone who speaks the word of God in a way, someone who can represent marriage, the judicial system. It can represent, that's a little bit more justice, but this just represents someone who kind of lays down the law in a sense, but has a more religious context to it, spiritual context to it, someone who, it connects the divine. You can see that, maybe you can see he's holding, I'm not sure, some sort of, what it's called exactly, but has the 3 circles, so it's that, God, Father, Holy Spirit. It's the mixture of 3 energies that create something new. Sometimes, like I said, it can represent marriage. It's 5, so it also means change. Changing perspectives, changing belief systems, and the Chariot, just don't want to get these wet, Chariot is about following through, following your guidance, holding the reins, keeping things into control, 2 different energies, and taking the most direct path, which kind of speaks to the Queen of Swords. This is more of a movement energy. It's being victorious. We also got the Victory card, ultimately, but letting your higher self guidance, spiritual guidance, God, kind of direct the course. My cigarette went out. And how does that apply to you? Chariot is number 7, so it's a spiritual card. I'm going to have to pause this video. Start back in a second.